Welcome to the Coco Recovery Podcast.
The Coco Recovery Podcast presents the conversations of an informal group of friends gathered over coffee to discuss their current experience in recovery. The simple purpose of this podcast is to be helpful by sharing the realities of people living in recovery. The hosts and guests may or may not be practicing members of 12-step programs. The Coco Recovery Podcast is not affiliated with any organization, institution, or facility, neither endorses nor opposes any causes or approaches to recovery and rehabilitation. Whatever is expressed in the podcast represents our individual experiences and opinions as of today. Welcome back to the Coco Recovery Podcast. Good to see you guys again. My name is Pirate Mike.
And
I'm Barbie. Oops.
And I'm Carbs.
Okay.
Overlapping
There
there.
we
Hello.
go.
Woo-hoo.
How are you
So
both?
this is our
up?
fourth episode, right?
It is,
fourth.
yeah.
It is.
Time flies when
time
you're having fun.
flies.
And I still
Is
don't have
it?
a boyfriend.
Oh,
Every episode I'll be like,
I
I
know.
still don't have a boyfriend.
Did you check your
but we're gunning
mailbox?
for
Are they
a
applying?
June wedding. What is it? Isn't it like a June bride? Are we like we're gunning for a
Yeah,
June?
I'm aiming for a June wedding. but I guess it's not gonna happen.
Who knows?
called
Whirlwind
acceptance.
romance.
Called acceptance,
Right.
guys. Acceptance.
God will work its way. God will work its way
God
through
will
it.
work. God will work its way. Oh my goodness, that's not fair. That's not fair that
That's
there's
not
no
fair.
one here. No,
Well-
I'm just saying, like, trying to find someone in recovery and trying to find someone outside recovery. No.
Oh, we're back in the dating.
I was gonna
No,
say,
we're
In the dating
No, I'm
episode.
just saying, like, it's
2.5.
it's still gonna be slim pickings because, like, we're working on ourselves,
Yes.
getting
Mhm.
through it, and newcomers have just reached their bottoms, and the bottom is
Yeah.
still the bottom.
Yeah. So
Well-
yeah, speaking of bottoms, well, okay, what kind of bottoms are we
I
talking
was
about
gonna say,
today?
is this a different episode that I signed up for?
Uh-oh.
This is the sex addiction episode. Just kidding.
Well, here we go.
No,
Get
it's
down to
about
business.
okay, bottom meaning the question is, okay, do we have to reach rock bottom in order to get sober? Do we?
Wow.
What do you guys think?
Do we need rock
To
bottom?
hit rock bottom and to make that decision to get sober?
Mm.
What you
Like
know
in
what?
your experience, like Mike, did you hit
Mm.
rock bottom?
I'm gonna say yes. That's a short answer.
Mhm.
And when I was preparing for this podcast, right, I was curious. I know that the concept of like hitting bottom is something that they talk about in the 12 and 12 for step one. Actually that's what they say. It's like essentially the alcoholics need to get to a point of surrender, right? Hitting bottom, because until they get to that point, they won't be willing to do any of the stuff that we're suggested to do in order to recover. So we need to have that moment, where we're just able to abandon all to God. In the big book, there's no mention of a bottom in that sense, but it does spend a lot of time just trying to illustrate and emphasize the hopelessness and powerlessness and deathly nature of alcoholism, right? And the hope that something resonates and that connects. So, yeah, in my case, like this whole hitting bottom thing was impressed upon me a lot, was thrown around a lot. And I did think that I hit bottom when I first started attending meetings and was willing to ask somebody to sponsor me. But the conflict I guess I have with the idea was it's me. It's I tend to sometimes see things in black and white or extremes. So whenever I think about hitting bottom, hitting rock bottom, my struggle with it has been, I feel like it needs to be like the very last bottom.
Yeah.
Like it's the experience that, I can't go any lower, and it's all up from there. And over the years, that hasn't been the case. I've always kind of found myself getting into maybe different kinds of trouble and then finding way back to some kind of spiritual recovery, right? So I heard somebody not too long ago when they were talking about bottoms, he said that like in his experience, his opinion was like, well, you hit bottom when you stop digging. And that resonates more
Damn.
with me because
Yeah.
there've been a lot of times in recovery when I just continued to dig myself into some kind of a hole. You know,
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
it was time to like
Grave,
throw my hands
digging
up.
your own grave.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
yeah. But when do you know that it's time to stop digging? That's the question, right? Because like, I
When
mean,
there's nothing left to dig.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
there's-
kind of varies because like when I think about it, it's like I stop digging and then somebody like gives me something or throws me a bone or something like that, then I'm at it again.
What was your experience though? So let's talk stories. Like
No,
when we talk
well,
about like hitting bottom, what was that experience like for you?
I
The moment of
knew
surrender.
for me, like, of course, we all know, like, I mean, throughout my whole drinking career, I knew there was a problem. I knew that there was something, there was something not quite right with the way I was approaching alcohol because, every time I drank, it always had to be to the brim or
Yeah.
beyond the brim, right? That was the goal. And I guess the bottom that I experienced was that for some reason, this time around, I couldn't convince the people around me that it wasn't my bottom. And therefore, that started me thinking that, okay, hold the phone. This is real. How come I can't get back up? Everything is, everything's burned down and I can't get back up. There's no way out of this.
So was it like a
Matter no
cry
matter
for help for
it
you?
wasn't
Like,
I was still convinced that, it wasn't my fault. But I knew other people. It was tough love on the people that helped me, you know? That was hard to accept because I knew that was my bottom because I could not by any means, nothing that was coming out of my mouth was already convincing them that, I didn't have a problem. And maybe that when that happened, like I was like, holy shit, I can't worm my way out of this anymore. What is
Yeah.
happening? I had nothing. Nothing. Like completely nobody would listen to me. And that was hard. And I guess that's when I knew it was my bottom because like for some reason every time I fell or I did something stupid, something like that, like got to convince myself, no, it's okay, you can do it again, you can do it again, you can do it again. And then like I could tell people like, oh, come on, let's do it again, let's go drink, let's do this, let's do that. But this time around, like no one was giving me a hand.
yeah.
You know
They
what
were
I'm saying?
they stopped enabling you, basically.
Yeah, that's it. They stopped the cycle for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's when I knew that okay, this is for real. This is the time to stop. This
Kind of
is
like
this is like
intervention.
it was kind
Yeah.
of like an intervention.
Mm.
But then like I was already convinced, I was already starting to think like, no, there's something wrong. There's
Yeah.
really
If
something.
everyone is saying already, right? Then
Yeah.
there has to
Like
be
how
some
is
kind
it
of
that
truth
how
in
is
it.
it that when I saw it, I was like, how is it that each and every person was saying the exact same thing about me?
But
Then
they
I
called
was,
you an alcoholic. They
yeah,
called you an alcoholic.
like you stop drinking, you have a problem, and I was like, okay, like friends, and you're making bad decisions, you got to get help, do it, and stuff like that. And I was like, how is it that all these people are saying the exact same thing and yet I still thinking that I'm not the one with the problem? That
Yeah.
was like that was what was running in my head, and I was like, no, it's me, it's me. And so yes, reluctantly I accepted the help, but then like I'm glad I did, you know, because it wasn't the bottom I hit was, oh god, it was ugly because like I knew I was hurting so many people, but I was trying to convince them that I was okay, and they knew I wasn't.
Mm.
And I knew it took all of the strength they had to say no to me. And that was like, oh shit. Can you imagine
Yeah.
that? It was just like I was begging, like, please let me come home, or please believe me this time, or and they were just like, no,
Yeah.
no, enough. And I was like, holy shit, ugh. Like it was that was hell, because I was like, you don't love me anymore,
Right. The bargaining.
right?
Yeah.
You're in that point.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about me. You guys don't love me. And so, can you imagine how deep I was like here, and it just went deeper and deeper and deeper into that whole black hole of like self-pity, despair, desperation. And then finally, like, just when the clarity hit, it's just like, okay,
There.
let's do this. Let's do this. I came into the rooms, I was, I think, almost 30 days sober.
30 days
That's when I
sober.
started. Yeah. Like
So
I
it's
literally,
more of like you had a detox first, like a 30-day detox before you entered the rooms.
yeah, it was 30 days of me pleading to get out of that situation, like to come home and to, do what I was doing, and then none of them said yes. And then finally I reached out and I was like, okay, I need fucking help. And so I reached out and I go to a meeting here, then, there, and I met my sponsor and did what she told me, and then I was just like, okay, we're doing this. But yeah, I mean, I didn't go to I mean, my detox was the white knuckling, and it was
Yeah.
hard.
It wasn't the
Holy-
detox in the hospital, but
No.
detox meaning like you weren't drinking when you first
Oh
entered
my
the rooms.
God. That was hard.
For
And
sure. Yeah.
it was physically just draining. And then sorry to say too much information, but the sweat that I produced while detoxing was, I'm not a person who sweats a lot. But
Mhm.
when I was detoxing, I couldn't believe what my body was going through. And I was like, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And and that desperation was just like, instead of me saying I need help, then my desperation was, please let me come home because I am okay. And then as weeks went by, how many days, and then boom, I was like, okay, nobody's believing me, I have a problem.
Yeah.
You
The
know
thing
so
with bottoms is like, it's different for everyone, right?
is.
So that's why it's difficult to say, do I need to reach rock bottom in order for me to get help? Because what do you mean by bottom? There's so many, like
Right.
for some
Mhm.
people, it's you get sent by because you got like a DUI, or that
Mm.
could be a rock bottom, or you got into an accident. It could be a spouse leaving you, or because of your drinking, or so many other reasons. But it could be you like falling flat on your face in the cement. That was mine.
That was yours.
But
Here.
yeah, that was mine. So but then I had gone through so many bottoms. I had gone through, and the last one wasn't even as bad as the other ones that I experienced, because I've done it all. I've tried to kill myself. That was a bottom. I'm sure it was. I've tried to kill myself. I was put in rehab. That was another, but it was my choice,
Oh.
because at that point I really knew that I was really fucking everyone up.
What?
My relationships with my family, my daughter, it came from me to say, I called up my mom and I said, I need help.
Okay.
I need help.
Why?
So
Yeah.
that was just one bottom,
Yeah.
because I was driving my family away. My friends didn't want to talk to me anymore. I kept on lying to my daughter. It was really just, when I look at my daughter, I really just felt like a bad mother. And that I knew, I was like, I can't have any more car accidents. I'm gonna die. I mean, I did try to kill myself a couple of times already. And, So that's when I said, I need help. So that was a bottom for me. But after I got out of treatment, I was sober for 100 days and I started drinking again. So I'm thinking to myself, was that not a deep enough grave?
Mm.
No.
Right? Like, I'm just
See?
like, dude, I mean, that's why there are different bottoms for different people. And I thought that that was my bottom already, you know. And even before that, another bottom I had was I was about to get married. And,
Yo.
you know, 2 months before the wedding, my fiance announces that he's not going to marry me anymore. The invites were out. I had a wedding dress. The venue was secured. That was a really bad bottom too. But then I guess it still wasn't my time, you know, like I was one of those people just like, shoot, I was really digging and digging and digging and I just couldn't seem to hit, you know, that very bottom. But the last one was just very simple. It was bad, but yeah, I was in a bar, the usual, and this guy tried to pick me up. I was so drunk. I ended up in his condo. I almost got raped.
Mm.
I managed to escape. And then when I got home, because I was so upset that I almost got raped, which wasn't the first time, by the way. So you know, I drank some more. And then I started walking home and then I tripped and I fell flat on my face. So this whole thing was like completely black and blue. And I don't know why that was my last bottom.
What did it
I
feel
don't
like?
know why.
Describe what happened
Okay,
after
there
that moment.
you're right. So after that, of course I was still drunk. So when I woke up and I saw my bruises and I was trying to cover it up with makeup and my daughter saw me and said, "Oh my God, Mom." That was it. I got on my knees. I think that was the bottom. Yep. There you go. There you go. That's the bottom. I got on my knees
and
I said, God help me. I don't want to die. God help me. So that was my bottom. So it doesn't have to be like jails, institutions, and all this shit, right?
It's not enough. It's not enough. I mean, I can
It's
relate
not
to
enough.
it wasn't like I don't even consider one thing that I think we all have in common is we describe this moment, you know, whether you call it a moment of clarity, just something is different, and then it's hand to God. And I think that is the definition of hitting a bottom because that's where we're willing to change what we're doing and it increases from there. Like for me, what was my bottom, and I can relate to what you said, Barbie, it wasn't anything, it was so much less dramatic than anything else. I kept on crashing through the floor, right? Like my bottom wasn't the mental hospital, it wasn't the suicide attempt, it wasn't the divorce, it wasn't the car crash, it wasn't the miscarriage, it wasn't like the look on my stepdaughter's face, none of those things. It was me trying to finish a 12-pack by myself in an empty apartment 4 months after I started attending meetings for a court card, and then just having a moment of clarity where I thought about my stepdaughter, the beer wasn't drinking, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
And then I remembered somebody said, you know, 24 hours, and you can consider this your day one, and you can ask somebody for help. And I went to a meeting the next day. It was, you know, what made it different than any other night? Because there were many lonely nights. You know, I'm sure we've all had many misadventures, but something in that moment clicked in the same way that I won't be able to describe what recovery is going to be like for any of you for like a spiritual experience. Same thing, the moment of clarity that brings us to the surrender, or at least enough of a surrender for us to get the process going. It's different. It's completely inspired.
And I think that, exactly. But I think it's also it for me, in my opinion, it was like how many supposed bottoms are like, you know, okay, the black eye or whatever, right? All of these things, like it was me finally uttering the words, I need help.
Yep. That's the one.
I need help. Help me. Help me. That was that. I think that was because on all the other occasions, I didn't say that. I didn't admit to my faults. I didn't
That's
admit to
important.
anything, right? I didn't need help. I was okay. Right? You know, in my mind I was okay, but everybody's like, "No, you're not." I go, "Fuck you." Right? And then when I finally said those words, I need help. I think that's what really, like, and that moment of clarity, it just brought out those words, and like I felt it. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never, you know, like how alcoholics, like, you know, the typical alcoholics, we don't ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, it's so hard for me to ask for help. Even to, I mean, now that I'm in recovery, it's still difficult for me to ask for help.
Because
But
asking for help means you have to
you're,
stop drinking.
yeah,
That's why you don't want to ask for help.
you're
'Cause you're
right.
not ready to stop.
Stop. And so
Yeah.
when I finally did, it was like a domino effect of like, okay, let's do it.
Oh
Mm.
yeah.
There was this whole thing that just suddenly, like, the wheels in my head just started turning, like, okay, let's get you better.
Yeah.
This is what
Yeah.
we're gonna do. And then it was like, oh God, like, you know, like oiling the wheels up, they're so rusty. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I mean, it was torture. I mean, if I'm gonna explain it, it was mental torture, spiritual bankruptcy, emotional damage. And
Yeah.
you're just like, okay, all right, help me.
Yeah.
What do I do? Because
That's
apparently I can't do this by myself.
that's important. The help me part. There's a, so stepping away from the book, right? There's a friend of AA, that my second sponsor introduced me to, Dr. Harry Thibault. He's a psychiatrist, not an alcoholic, but he's a close friend of the program. And a couple of the things that you wrote about were the importance of surrender, right?
Yeah.
And what that
Oh,
moment looked like, and also the importance of ego reduction in terms of facilitating that moment of surrender and the ongoing
yeah.
recovery of the alcoholic. So when you're talking about help me, I mean, that's
Mm.
it. We're getting to a point where, and I can't describe how, but
Mm-hmm.
there's just this moment where there's the utter failure of the ego to raise any more defenses, to fight
Yeah,
anymore. And it's in that moment when it's been reduced enough that we become pliable and open enough to ask for help and do
exactly.
something different.
Yeah.
And it's not a one-time thing, like I had that moment, right? And then, okay, now I have a sponsor, and then I'm doing step work, but then I go on this thing for years where I'm still kind of doing it my way, and the ego comes back because life starts looking kind of
Mm.
normal again, right? And it wasn't until I got in pretty bad shape emotionally, not understanding what was going on, that I needed to get to a moment of surrender. And even that wasn't like the last time. There've been at least 3 or 4 moments where, in sobriety, I've had to hit bottom again.
Mm-hmm.
The It just wasn't working for me, but it took me to get to a certain amount of pain in order for me to be like, something's not working. I need to ask for help.
Yeah.
Is that different from, like, wait, okay, like if you bottom out again in recovery, as opposed to like bottoming out outside and then getting into recovery? Is that it's considered like a different thing, right?
I've heard people say like hitting an emotional bottom, and I don't know. I mean, because that's not in the book, right? But it feels, because I didn't go back to drinking again.
Yeah.
But because I didn't have alcohol or anything else, the things that I was using to try to substitute that void that was starting to like open up again, weren't great.
Oh,
Like I
there you
Yeah.
started
go.
trying to look for it in like, people and
Mm.
fellowship and other things, and um slowly
Mm.
I was starting to get like all the old craziness were starting to come back, or at least the misery, you know,
Yeah.
like it was miserable,
Yeah.
and
I get
being
that.
miserable in sobriety for a long time is no fun.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh
I
man.
mean, it's like, when I was in rehab, I was definitely sober there, but it was an artificial environment, because it was an
Artificial.
inpatient, it was an
Wow.
inpatient. If it's outpatient, then you kind of play, you have more responsibilities of like you know, you
Yeah.
go home, you pass through 7-Eleven, you see the booths, you know, there's effort. You're
Yeah.
actually in recovery when
Yeah.
you're an outpatient. You are in recovery because you're in the real world. But when you're in an inpatient rehab, you're not in recovery because it's an artificial world,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
you're just not drinking. Basically, that's it. You're protected, you're
Oh,
medicated.
there you go.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why it didn't work out for me. And I knew, even though I asked my mom for help and I said, Mom, please put me in a facility. But right before I entered the facility, I downed, I don't know, like 12 beers because it was my last hurrah,
Last hurrah.
supposedly. So I guess even though
She
I
downs
asked
half
for
a case.
help, it wasn't real. Because why
Mm.
would you drink after asking for help? That means you're not done, right? It's like you asked for
True.
help, and then I drank the
True.
beer. So
You
I
know
went,
what?
yeah,
Yeah.
And I
you know?
remember this
And I
one
tried to
time.
bring in Valiums too into the
You like-
facility, and they saw it.
this was I remember a time when I was drinking Red Horse, and I really hate that. I don't like Red Horse kasi. So I was drinking.
I'm like,
I don't like Red Horse
How
for
dare
some
you.
reason. I don't like the taste. It's
Are
the
you
taste
not
for me.
Filipino?
No, it's the taste for me. I'm a San Miguel, man. San Miguel. I'll drink any of the San Miguel products. And then so I was drinking and I got really drunk and my mom caught me. Right? And I remember this vividly, and I was like, I was asking for help to go to my bed. Right? I go like, I need help. Like I was pointing to the bed.
Oh my
Dude,
God.
the next week she put me in a shrink's office.
At least you weren't in a psych ward.
No, but then the thing was, I was going through. I knew I was going through I was going through a hard time. I think I broke up with a boyfriend or something like that. And then like, just like the teen drama or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, you know what I told the shrink? I long to die.
Mm. Over the
I
breakup.
didn't ask for help. I wanted him to kill me. I
Yeah.
was like, just freaking. I don't want to live.
Hmm.
And yes, the suicide attempts were just like enormous. I mean, not enormous. I mean, like they were numerous. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I just remember like there was help, and then I said no. I just long to die.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to stop doing what I was doing, and so in turn, that shrink gave me pills, which I was already like, I could get anywhere. And I was just like, oh, this is even better because like,
Yeah, because pills and booze. Woohoo!
I can finally say like, no, this is my medication.
Yeah,
You
but if you're gonna
You
drink
don't have
with
to
it,
hide it. Exactly.
wow.
I'm not gonna
Right. Yeah,
hide
you
it.
could be in the
I don't
open.
have- Right? I couldn't. I was like, no, it's okay, mom. Or whatever. No, I was prescribed. Da, 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 da. And so that became a thing, because like asking the fake asking for help or seemingly trying to get help fed my ego, thinking that, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm getting a free pass here.
Yeah.
Right? I'm getting the go signal to take these, and it's okay. And it just progressed and progressed, and until nope, you can't get away with it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, all right, there you go. Fucking hit my face in the pavement. Literally.
Yeah,
No,
there's
it was-
something about hitting your face in the pavement, I think. There's something about
Twice.
that.
It's a wake up call, and then you see yourself in the morning.
Really like, oh,
Oh,
wow.
my I don't think I ever did. I ever show you guys my
I saw it.
Oh
You
yeah.
look lovely. You look
could
lovely.
you could just say no, Barbs, and then like, because I haven't seen it.
It was amazing.
It's
It was
amazing.
awesome. No, wow. I'm really glad I saw it.
Yeah, it fucking
Just
reminds
like-
me. Okay, I'm not gonna
It's
look
a
like that
reminder.
anymore.
It was
It's a
a reminder because
reminder.
I should have taken a picture of myself actually that
Yeah,
day.
it
But
was
after seeing
solid.
yours, it reminded me. Like,
That's great. I love that. After seeing
Yeah.
yours.
after
Right?
seeing
Everyone-
yours,
Right?
I'm
glad,
like, I made the right decision to ask for help.
glad my picture of like, freaking
Yeah.
stupidity helped you. That's a good, that's really inspiring. Thank you for that. But yeah,
like-
see, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like my
Yeah.
ego was being fed by all of
Oh,
these
yeah.
people that I thought was helping because they were telling me that, oh, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna, not knowing that, I was already like progressing so freaking fast
Yeah.
that everything just fell to the like burned and crashed and burned.
Yeah.
Well, it was open. I mean, when you said that, right? It reminded me of like my drinking really progressed um around the time of my first marriage because she was someone who came from like a heavy drinking family, and the relationship that I was in before then, I always felt as if I kind of like I hid my drinking from her a lot, which is awkward because now we're married, but she knows like for years, I there were times when we'd go drinking, but then my heaviest drinking always was when we were apart. Like when I'd be back here for breaks in between school, or or like when I was out for happy hour that lasted way too long, for work with work colleagues. Um, but later on with that other relationship, I felt like I could drink openly. And then that's when it was on. It was like filling
Yeah.
shopping carts full of booze, and we were both into
Yeah.
it. So whatever. And it was just, I felt free and fed.
Yes.
And I thought that like I could
Yes.
finally indulge my solution to life openly and without a care. And I thought that was going to work. And it did for a
is
while
so
until it
true.
didn't.
Yeah.
That is so true. That is so
No.
true.
And that's
Like when you
important,
find
actually.
someone,
Yeah. Well,
find
when you
someone
find
to
someone,
drink
but
with
also
you.
like it was my solution for a long time. Like the reason why it progressed. I mean, yes, I'm an alcoholic, but too like if I didn't get some kind of like warped idea that it was working for me, then I wouldn't have done it for so fucking long.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And the fact that it's, I don't know, when you mentioned that you were in like, like with me, I grew up in an environment where it was heavy drinking is like a trait, a family trait. You know, it's not right. We're all functioning alcoholics
Mm.
until we weren't.
Air quotes, yeah.
Air quotes,
Yes.
right? Until we weren't. Until somebody got sick. Until somebody went into the program. Went back out, and it wasn't, I didn't consider, and because like as I said again, I was being fed, like it's okay, it's
Yeah.
okay to drink, it's all right. And like I wake up after a night of, I remember like I would wake up after a night of debauchery or something like that, and it's a 10 a.m. beer
Yeah.
to with the same people, because it's okay.
Yeah.
It was
I
oh,
learned, yeah, I learned recently, I've been taking classes, because I'm trying to get a diploma in addiction studies, is that alcoholics take longer to bottom compared to drug addicts because of
Interesting.
that. Because alcohol is legal and it's
Yeah.
part of our culture to drink here in the Philippines. Like I said, like New Year's Eve, you're 10 years old, they give you champagne. Like there's no legal age to drink. It's not like in the States, you have to be 21. Here, any age is good, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you see like a 12-year-old drinking Red Horse, and the dad is like, yeah,
Red
good,
Horse,
like, good on you, like, oh, my son can drink, like they're really like proud of it, so for us it's like it's so accepted, like people from call centers after work, they drink in the morning because they get out in the morning. So it's, everybody drinks here. It's the way we live our lives, how we celebrate, commiserate, right? So,
Or
so
study.
it's really, so it's hard for us to even
study.
realize that, am I really an alcoholic? Because all my other friends are drinking just as much. So it's like,
So we think.
Exactly.
But
But
then like, you're
they don't have
around
but they don't have the same mental obsession that we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, sometimes they
right?
are. Some of my friends, some of the people we both know, right? They drink and use more than I ever did, but they don't have the same. They didn't pass through that moment that it talks about, right? Where in the book where, like I lost control and choice over my drinking at some point. I used
Exactly.
to think, because it was something I heard in meetings. It was like, oh, I was born an alcoholic. I wasn't fucking born an alcoholic. It was,
No.
like,
No.
Like you
but
came out of with a baby with a San Miguel
no,
bottle.
because some people like when they're discussing their character defects or like just being selfish, it's like, oh, because I'm an alcoholic. It's like, no, I was an asshole. I was an entitled
Yeah.
asshole. But like
Yes.
when I discovered alcohol, it did something to me that changed my perception of life and what it could be and who I could be. And I didn't even know when I lost. Like I'd be hard pressed to tell you when I lost control and choice because I continued to gaslight myself. And this is my alcoholism. I continue to and my ego gaslight myself into thinking like, no, 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 I got this. I
Mm.
need or no, but you don't understand. I need to drink. There was so many. It was always the justification, like that insanity, just
Yes.
always made it
Yes.
like a valid option until it
Mhm.
was forcibly taken from me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. The
And then it was like,
justification.
You
The
know, like my
justification.
last that day when I fell and hit my face, my last bottom, I remember thinking that, when I said, yeah, I'm not a religious person. I don't pray and all that stuff, but I remember just, yeah, getting on my knees and saying, help me, God. Like,
Mm.
why God?
wow.
Like, I'm not religious, but I uttered those words, and yeah, right after, what makes it different from the others is like, I did research and went on the AA website and found the name of someone there, and I asked for a meeting. And by that time that I attended the meeting, I had already accepted that I was an alcoholic. I had accepted it. For me anyway, that was my experience. Like I knew that I finally accepted that I wasn't like my friends. I wasn't like the other people who could drink and could still manage their lives. I accepted it already that I needed help. I'm different from everyone else. I'm going to try these meetings because maybe it'll help me because I've run out of options. I've really run
There
out
you
of
go.
options.
There you go.
I've seen a psychiatrist. I had a counselor. I went to,
Yeah.
I was already on antidepressants, and then
Yeah.
I've already gone on retreats,
Yeah.
spa retreats,
Mm.
everything na, But then I ended up drinking at the retreat.
Oh God. Did you bring your own?
I went to Bora and went to a yoga retreat.
No way.
So, and
You
I
brought
thought that was going to help me, but I ended up drinking 2 bottles of wine and throwing up the next day and then still going to yoga. But anyway, going back, this one was really, really different because I had tried everything already. And so the last one where I said, I'm just going to give this a try, the meetings. And as soon as I sat there and I was surrounded by other people like me, it's different though. The people in the rehab were different compared to the people in the meeting. For some reason, they were very, very different because the people in the meeting wanted to be there. They wanted to be there.
Yeah.
It's not because their parents sent them there. So that's why I felt like I was like, holy shit, everyone here has been sober for like, years. The people in the rehab obviously were like there because they've only been sober for like 30 days, 60 days. I think the longest ones were like 3 months, I think. But yeah, that's when I got to meet people who have been in recovery for years. And then there were some new ones,
I mean, I'm still a baby.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted to be there. I wanted to to really like I would do as much meetings as I can because I really needed to I wanted to know exactly how this is gonna help because I was already there. Like I
Yeah.
said it, I want help. I need help.
Yeah.
And so, I guess that's, like I said, like the wheel started turning. Okay. I was around 3.5 months when I entered rehab. I was already,
Mm.
I wasn't drinking for 3.5 months, and then my brother's like, get into rehab. Why? I already stopped drinking. And then, he still put me in, and I was like reluctant because I was still at the point where I felt like I wasn't getting it. I was like, I have a you know what I said? I go, I have a sponsor. I go to the meetings, yada, yada, yada. I have to admit, it was like that. And it was slowly sinking in, but it just wasn't enough.
No,
And so
Okay.
that happens a lot. I
that
mean, I think
happens,
Yeah.
it took
right?
years for me to, it took years before somebody pointed out to me that like having a sponsor and attending the meetings is a completely different thing from going through the 12 steps.
Mm,
Like they're part of the same house,
Yeah.
but it's a completely different
yeah.
room, you know? Like I can't,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm trying to like not say like the real alcoholic, but the person that they describe in the book is not going to be able to recover through meeting attendance and social time. Like it
Mm,
takes something else because if you separate that person from alcohol and you don't have a sufficient substitute, like they go crazy, you know? And I think that
exactly.
that kind of speaks to
Mm-hmm.
the experience. I want to, so this is like, I think this is the first time that I'm actually going to go ahead and read from the book, and then you're going to have to change my nickname to like Thumper Mike. But when you said, Barbie, that like you're not religious and yet you came to this moment and you were asking God to help you, it made me think of on page 55, um, where it says, we had seen spiritual release, but like to tell ourselves it wasn't true. Actually, we were fooling ourselves, for deep down in every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. It may be
Mm.
obscured by calamity, by pomp, by worship of other things, but in some form or other it is there. For faith in a power greater than ourselves and a miraculous demonstration of that power in human lives are facts as old as man himself. And I think that,
Mm.
when I surrender and then when I can identify with people in the meeting sharing their experience and their hope, and I see what their lives have become, and I know that I'm like them, it does produce something very powerful in me. And that's when the change becomes possible and the hope becomes possible. Carbs, there's something that you sent me a message. I forgot what we were talking about. I think just like general recovery. But you were talking about the spiritual experience, right? And
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and for a long time in AA, I would listen to what people would say, but I was skeptical and I kind of thought that they were just bullshit religious nuts,
Yeah.
But every time I've come to a point where I needed to surrender and find hope, um, it kind of looks like, so you said in terms of spiritual experience, you're not expecting like the gates of heaven will open and angels will start singing, but maybe, just maybe, the universe will get brighter and more inspiringly beautiful. And that is exactly the way that it's felt for me every time I've hit a moment of growth. I there's skepticism that about the trumpets and like all that drama.
Yeah.
But then when I'm at the lowest that I need to be in
Mm,
order to produce change, I'm like, maybe, just maybe, it's going to be better than what I have right now because I have
exactly.
nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean,
And it is.
Exactly.
I wasn't religious, but I did believe that there was something out there. I didn't go to church or whatever. I used to until the God that was introduced to me was a punishing God. So
Mm,
that's why I was like, I don't like this. I don't
right.
like this God that's the punishing God who's not, welcoming the LGBTQ community, and I just couldn't accept that. That was the one thing that I couldn't accept about
Mm,
that church. So that's why I was like, what religion do I have to
To
have?
be.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
looking for, I tried, was it Buddhism? I was like, which one is gay friendly? I was like, because for me, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It has to be like gay friendly because, my sister is gay, and I have so many people in my life whom I love
But you
are
were
gay, and
searching.
I'm like, I don't want to believe in a God that doesn't welcome them. So that there was
True.
always that. That's why I was like, forget it. There's no God. Forget it.
That's so
You know, but
interesting.
then yeah, but there was this thing that was like, what if I just believed in a God of love? And this was before I entered the meetings. I was just thinking about it. It's like, what if I just believe in a God of love? Maybe that's
Yeah.
okay. Is that okay?
Mhm.
You know, and
course.
when I entered the meetings, that's when I realized that yes, I can have a God of love. It's the God of my
Yeah.
own understanding. It doesn't have to be the punishing God. The I hate gays, God.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
And that's when everything like opened up for me.
mm,
I'm like, oh my God, I can have my own God. And then
yeah.
I just felt so free that I started to pray. I
Mhm.
started,
Wow, the gates like
No,
open.
the
No,
gates opened.
because if you think about it, when I entered that rehab, um, you know how you start every session or whatever, you end every session with a group session or something like that, the third step prayer. And I was like, who the fuck are we praying to? Like it always like baffled me. Like I was like, God of my understanding. That's true though. Like I knew there was a God because
Yeah.
this is a Catholic country after all. And I thought we were
Separate.
all
Separate yourself from the religion for a second, but you
yeah,
knew there
there
was a God.
I
So
knew there
somewhere
was a
within
God.
you. Yeah.
Somewhere within I knew because like for some reason, but then it didn't quite click
Hmm.
that it had to be the same God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The one that was taught to me.
Yeah.
It was like I was super ashamed. I was like, "Ugh, but
Oh.
but he's seen me in all these icky situations, and how am I supposed to plead back? You know what I'm saying? Like, how is this possible that the same God that I've believed in is going to give me a second chance or something like that?
Ah,
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's like
yes, yes.
Yeah.
pray to the same God and after everything that I've done.
Because
Yeah.
that God would put you in hell.
Exactly. It's like no.
No, no. That's true. Actually, I think honestly, I think we were talking about alcoholism in the Philippines and some of you guys talked about how, there's no legal age or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it has to do more with that. Like the morality in this
Mm.
place tied to religion than anything else because, people in Nordic countries or whatever, like other Spanish colonies, they'll drink with as much machismo as us. But
Yeah.
the gravity of the moral failing of being
Yeah.
an alcoholic, right? Or
Mm.
just this whole like, if I'm the alcoholic and then you guys are able to maintain, then well, you're going to heaven, and you guys are very convinced of where I'm gonna go. Just that
Mm.
swing,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
heavenly
Yeah.
reward and the
Yeah.
weight of that in the Philippines still um makes
The
it very
stigma
difficult.
of it
Yeah,
all.
There's
it's
that
different. It,
whole
it
yeah.
hits different because of
It
the
hits.
morality.
Exactly. It hits different. It really does. I mean, like, and when I was told that, you just have to pray to the God that you feel comfortable with. Oh,
Yeah. I wish I had known that. I wish I had
Right?
I
known
wish
that
I had known that,
earlier,
right?
right? Because it would have saved me from so much angst. And I was so afraid to pray. Okay, okay. I know this is strange, but or maybe not. I was so strange. I was so afraid to pray because I was scared that, let's say, if I asked God for courage, He would punish me by giving me something really bad. So it could be something that I could be brave about or courageous doing,
Mm,
like
I get
because
it.
He's just a punishing God. It's like if I ask for something, he's gonna be like, no, like how they say like the reason why let's say the volcano erupted or whatever, it's because God is punishing them for
yeah.
being on not believing in him enough or just being so sinful. And that's why I was so afraid to pray to this God because I know of what he's capable of doing. He's capable of killing all those people. Or like Noah's Ark, where he killed,
Yeah.
drowned all
The
the people and said,
world.
I'm starting over. Okay. I'm
Right? If
starting
you could
over.
like
So
erase you literally erased the world.
like you guys suck, so I'm gonna kill all of you. Just pick
Right?
some animals, you know, and put them in the ark. And you know, I couldn't, I couldn't. That's why it was so hard, even though I wanted to pray, because there's always something in me that wanted to pray, but I was just too scared. I was scared of the God that was gonna punish me. But when I found out in the rooms that it could be a loving God, a God where I could surrender everything to, wow, that was it. I knew I was in the right place.
Exactly.
And now it feels so good, to pray all the time and not be afraid that I'm going to get punished.
Who needs men? Just kidding.
What?
Who indeed? I don't need men.
No, I'm just saying, like,
And we're back into the day.
We are.
saying, I'm
Dating
just
episode.
But
saying.
maybe that's part of the appeal, right? Because like even in Bill's story, when he talked about his friend Ebby and
Yeah.
finding religion, and when the idea was introduced to him that he could find a power, like God of his own understanding, then there's like paragraphs where the wheels start turning in his head. And maybe that's part of the same appeal, that, if it's true that deep down within us, there's a fundamental idea of God. But then with our alcoholism and then everything else, whatever that we're using to justify the distance between ourselves and that power, when we've hit bottom,
There.
and then we're told that like there's a better way
Yeah.
and it's broader than you think it is. And I was just like you, and you don't have to fear. Then there's the appeal that like maybe there is something greater than me that can deliver me from this misery,
Yes.
and I'm
But
willing to give it a shot.
That's the thing, though. Like, what like, at least for me, I had to go through a bottom just to realize that there was
Mhm.
Yeah. this God that
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
that's I don't know if I find that sad or a happy, joyous
It's not
thing that
always.
happened.
It's not
But-
always. Actually, when we were
right?
talking about this, like there have been, hitting bottom is difficult, but like I'll say every day this week, I made a choice at the beginning of the day to try to understand God's will and live according to that, right? And so there's a momentum that builds, and it's a humbling exercise. I mean, you could kind of say that's a bottom because I start off the day by like just setting myself aside.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be painful, you know?
Uh-huh.
It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a painful one. But then the idea of the bottom that we've been talking about is one where we're just in too much pain. But it doesn't, like the exercise of it, once we're in the zone, so to speak, like it doesn't always have to be a painful thing, this ego reduction.
Yeah.
Ego reduction. There you go. Like, like for example, like maybe I start my day. No, I do start my day. Like, I feel like I start my day like, let's go from zero. You know what I'm saying? Okay, this is a brand new day.
Yeah.
Like, okay, God, let's do this.
Mm.
It's a brand new
Mm.
day.
Let's
Yesterday
do
was
this.
done. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes I do that. Like, okay, come on, let's do this.
And you're not hungover.
And you're
when
not hungover, so you
you're
know
not
exactly,
hungover.
right? And then, but then, because like that's another thing though. If I'm I'm not hungover, because like when I was hungover, I'd be like, I know exactly what's going down today.
It's
I'm
really like, help
bed.
me, God. I feel
I'm-
like dying.
right?
It's a different kind of
Right?
prayer.
That's like, help me, Papa Jesus. Diba? Like,
Patayin mo na ako.
it's those no, like empty solemn oaths that you're doing, like, oh my God, I'm never gonna drink again, God, just help me today.
Yeah.
I know exactly what's gonna happen if I'm hungover. It's like I'm gonna be useless, I'm gonna stay in bed, I'm gonna pig out, and then nothing's gonna be done. But since now that like of course I'm sober, and this program and everything like that, it's like every day it's like, okay, I get to start from zero, and then
Yeah.
you work your way up, and you don't know you don't even know what's gonna happen. If I go out my door and I'm just like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna see the crazy cat person barefoot again, or or somebody's gonna fart in the elevator, which happened. And it's these things that, just because like I surrendered and I bottomed out, and I finally said, help me, and now I'm gonna do your will. Like, I'm gonna live according to how you want it to be, God, because
Yeah.
apparently I do not know best.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
It's proven I do not know what's best for me at
Yeah.
this
We
point.
can tell God, like, our HP, like, okay, I want this, but at the end of the day, it's thy will be done.
Thy
Right?
will
It's
be
that
done.
humility to know that you don't know what's best for you, but I want this, but at the end of the day,
It's
thy will be done, because
Oh, that's
his way is
good.
always
yeah.
his way is always the better way.
Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
good idea though.
know?
I like how you said that. There's nothing wrong with wanting things.
Yeah.
It's when I go to the extent of demanding it that I get in
There's a
trouble.
difference. And
There
if
you
you
go.
expect it,
Mhm.
there's a
Ah.
difference. Yeah. So
Because
it's really
as
more like it can go either way. Just show
No.
me the way.
no,
You know?
like one of our fellows have said, expectations are just resentments waiting to happen.
Yep. Exactly.
That was
I'm
a
still
good
working
one.
on that every day. I'm still working on that every day. Just
I
we're
know.
not saints. Like in the book, right? We're
Oh,
not saints.
we are not saints.
It's a
No,
continuous,
not at all.
every single day is, I'm not saying it's a struggle, it's just every
Right.
single day it's just a miracle. I think I've said this the last time. It's just a miracle. When I wake up and I said I made it another day without drinking, it's a freaking miracle.
And it comes to a
Wow.
point that you kind of start to be grateful for that bottom,
Yeah.
actually.
Yes. Yes.
You start
Yeah.
to become grateful, like, like for some reason, like there are times when I think that, okay, God, like my God now, and like, you know what, God, thank you for giving me that bottom, because it made me realize that there is actually something better. You're showing it to me little by little, and I'm accepting it. I'm trying to understand it as much as I can, and I'm trying to live it according to your will. And so, because of that bottom, here I am,
Yeah.
right?
Because of that bottom, I met the two of you.
No, there
And
you
I'm
go.
so
Aw.
grateful. I'm so grateful for
Aw.
that. I'll hit that pavement a couple more times if I have to. It's okay.
Okay,
It
we're going
was
to
worth
pavement.
it.
Not
It was
gonna-
worth it.
we're not gonna hit pavement anymore, please.
No.
Oh my
Oh
God,
my
it's not
We
gonna
wouldn't have
happen
the stories
anymore.
though, but we wouldn't have the
Ah.
stories.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, how are we going to help other people if we didn't
Right.
go through what we did, if we didn't bottom? And
You know what? That's true.
Yeah.
how do we carry the message?
And
Ah,
it's so great that you feel that way, because I feel the same way, and I never had this sense of purpose before, because I never lived a life where I felt so inspired that I had a purpose like this.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And well, I mean, I'm not my war stories and my recovery allows me to relate.
Yep.
It allows me to relate to people who want the help, who need the
Mm.
help.
Yes. You
Right,
become
who
more
ask for that.
compassionate. You totally understand what they're going through.
Right.
Oh, you hit yourself in the pavement too?
Right.
Aw.
Or like, oh, that's nothing.
We're
It's
best friends. We're
And
gonna
it's
I
usually
can see
like,
it
and it's
now.
usually like, they're like, I don't know if this has happened to you guys before, but have you ever like tripped and hit your face on the pavement? And it's like, mm-hmm.
oh yes.
You too.
And And they always feel
I've
so
hit
unique.
all like with what kind of pavement? Because I've hit a lot of different kinds of pavement.
Just like, you kind of go through. Oh, that one's really, really rough because like I had like scratch marks when I like,
Yeah.
like
Well,
oh
that
no,
was the time when,
you're just comparing pavements. Oh no, mine had like a pattern. So like
yeah. This
But that's
the time I
that's
got
the
a black eye
best.
was at the time when I like had like scratches on my nose.
That's
Which
the best because
one?
like look, before you came into the meetings, can almost guarantee you guys probably thought you're like, there's no way that I'm gonna meet somebody that had this. You don't understand. I
yeah.
drank so much that I hit my face on a pavement, and now here you guys are on the same screen comparing pavement
Yeah.
textures.
And then her showing me that picture, I'm like, oh, you look so lovely.
Lovely.
Thanks
Gorgeous.
for the reminder.
Lovely. No, it's true. Yeah, you see, it's like these war stories. Somehow it just made me more compassionate towards other people
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
some reason. Like if I see somebody like when I go out now and if I see somebody like if I hear stories of somebody like asleep in the pavement, like I'd be like, just give him a glass of water. You don't know what that guy's been through. Just
Yeah.
don't wake him up because you're gonna stir trouble. But just make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
It's that type of that type of compassion. Like yeah, I know exactly how that one feels. But if you want to talk about it, I'm here for you.
I'll say I have more compassion. This is gonna be another episode, but like I have more compassion for those guys than I do half the time for people that I meet in meetings, and it's like, you are acting the fool, and you should know better by now.
Oh my god!
True. It's
Yeah.
true. Because newcomers have an excuse, and
That's
the
my
other
ego.
ones are
That's my
just like,
ego. The other ones are like, go ahead, go ahead. No
Newcomers,
excuse.
oh my, well, yes, it's like, come on, you're still a jerk. Like,
yeah, or I'm just like, God, you're angry. You're an angry recovering alcoholic.
it's like, what have they, are we in the same program? Are we not?
That's true. That's true. I'm just like, double digits aren't doing you well.
You know,
Aw.
just
No, but
they,
what
they
you
make
said
for
though,
a taller soapbox.
yeah,
That's what it is.
there you go. No, but when you said that the newcomers have an excuse, yeah, I feel a lot more for those newcomers than I do
Yeah.
for the old timers. Because some of them are just like, you gotta be kidding me.
Like, where's that hope?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Like
You're
I
still,
listen
you're
to
still
someone talk about like spending years in meetings, and it's like, years, huh? And it's like, yeah, but still trudging along. Life just gets that way, but we have to, like, I'm sorry, but if we're supposed to be passing on hope, if I was in, like, you're giving me reasons to slit my own throat right now. Like, so this is what I have to look forward to, is like years of commiserating with people in like meetings. So like life actually doesn't get any better. It's
years of
terrible.
trudging. That's what I'm in for. Wait, when can
Yeah.
I smooth sail?
What
Jeez.
happened to happy, joyous, and free?
When can I smooth sail? Never.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's how you look at it. Like you're still trudging. God damn it.
Yeah.
I think
No.
that person needs another bottom.
No, but here you think about it though. Like how does I mean some people just stay in the bottom and but still be in recovery?
Yeah. I mean, so Barbie, you talked about that thing where like you went into a rehab, but nothing really changed, but it felt
Yes. Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
That's what I'm talking about. So like you
Yeah.
can, because now you're just in this safe virtual mental hospital, and there's no,
Oh.
as long as I'm going to another meeting and talking to somebody, like I don't want to shit on the fellowship too much, right? But there is a
Yeah.
false like
We're losing
safety.
viewers. We're losing viewers.
Yeah.
There's a false sense of security that comes from like just going from like one meeting to the other if you're not actually like talking about the solution.
Ah,
Yeah.
there you go. It becomes like a safety like net. Like you're
Yeah.
just there.
You know, you're just going through the motions.
I literally, so there was a meeting, and I think I've told you guys this, like we were in a meeting where, because I love telling this story because I feel a certain way about it. Like they were talking about, they were debating the whole, identifying as recovered versus recovering, right? And then there's so many different conversations about it. But
Mhm.
one guy in a meeting, and I appreciate his honesty, he was like, I don't want to consider myself recovered. I will always want to consider myself recovering because if I'm recovered, then that means I'm going to have to let go of the parts of myself that I still like my craziness and my insanity. And I'm not ready to be, I want to be, crazy and wild. And I was like, fuck,
That's
that's
fucked up.
actually no, but also that's actually me.
Yeah.
I resisted going all the way with this program because there were parts of me that were maybe not healthy, but I was too scared to be honest about because I thought I'd have to give it up.
Mm.
And that became the color of my bottoms in recovery. So,
Oh.
Yeah.
even like I've talked in this podcast about, like realizations about being like a fantasy addict or, last
Yeah.
year I started checking out another fellowship like ACA. And those came out of getting to a point where I was like, okay, there's still this thing that's like causing me pain, but I
Mhm.
haven't been giving it up. But maybe it's time that I do. And then right around the time I'm having that thought, somebody shares something or I experience something where it's like, oh fuck, I gotta take a look at this. Because like, oh,
That's
I'm safe
something
from
to think
alcohol,
of.
right? I don't have to look at anything else. But there's so much. I mean, you could argue that when we're practicing 10, 11, and 12, like the willingness to grow spiritually, right? Which is what we talk
Mm.
about, that's the point. That growing spiritually is this continued development of self and understanding of self so that you can get, we're not talking about bottoms, but you're reaching different peaks.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something. That is something. I'm not expecting nirvana, but like, you know.
It's what
Yeah.
you understand of it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I don't want to trudge my whole life, guys. So
Yeah, it's not about just surviving.
yeah, it's not just about
Right.
surviving, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's not
not just
about
like
just surviving. Oh, I survived another day of not drinking. No, that's not it. Not at
fun,
all.
right?
Not at all.
Exactly, exactly. And I don't want, and I like the fact that you pointed out that, um, like the fellowship, well, not dishing it, not dissing it or anything
Yeah.
like that. It becomes like a sort of like it's just that's it.
Hmm.
That's the whole. That's like or the meetings. That's it.
Yeah, you're
I'm
like
Yeah,
bound to this.
that's the program.
I'm
Yeah.
The meetings.
bound to this, and I will go nuts if I don't. No, dude. That's why you're here. It's because like you get to learn the tools, so you get to experience life outside this disease of alcoholism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna. I don't. I think that's one of the goals I have that keeps me from bottoming out again is because like I want to live outside of my alcoholism, right?
Yeah.
That's I experience life on life's terms outside this program, meaning creating memories
Yeah, and growth.
and
That's what
growth.
for
And
me
growth.
it's about growth.
Experiencing new things that don't exactly need to be, oh, um, it's AA related. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I mean,
Exactly.
because AA is the program is the thing that eventually like allows me to live, right? I
Mm,
mean, I
Yeah.
still have my relationship with God. I take that with me, and then the principles that go along with the God of my understanding. But then all that allows me to live. So AA becomes like this way of life, this design for living, just becomes a part of my life. I mean, in the latter steps part of the book, right? I mean, it spells out. It says it reminds us that our real reliance um, should be on God, should be on our higher power,
yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
very clear about that. And yet,
Mhm.
if you need any proof that in so many parts of the fellowship, it's gone in a different direction, all you need to see is how many people fucking relapsed during lockdown because they couldn't get to a meeting anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
See?
y'all forget,
Mhm.
like, if you supposedly did this program, like, you all forget who's actually keeping you sober.
Exactly.
It's not other people. It's not the meetings.
Right.
You
It's
know,
not.
it's
It's
not.
not. It's
But we can
not at
allow it to be.
all.
But we can allow it to be.
You can allow it to be, but then
I
like
mean,
then
it helps a lot. I mean,
it
it does
helps.
help a lot.
Loneliness
I
is a
Don't
mean,
get us
thing.
wrong.
Yeah.
It
Loneliness is a thing.
helps,
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
right?
It
But you gotta
does.
have the balance, you know,
But in the
because
life or death,
again,
in the life or death of it,
Yeah.
right? Like I could,
Okay.
we could meet however often we do, and I'll never pass up a chance to talk to you guys. But if it ever gets to a point where I'm like, if I don't talk to Carbs and Barbie in the next 5 minutes, I'm gonna go drink. Like I've
No.
missed the point somewhere.
you definitely missed the point. What's the point? Oh God, you missed it, buddy.
You know, for me, it's like I really had to learn about physical sobriety and emotional sobriety. And for me, that's what it is, just every single day. It's not about surviving, it's about being able to relate, like having better relationships with my family, with my daughter. Those are the little glimmers,
Mm,
that's
Yeah.
where that's where the hope, you see the hope, you know that for me, that's what it is, being
yeah.
able to sit through my feelings, being able to not fight back, like this asshole says something and I'm able to contain my anger, like I'm able to like pause, that's a win for me. That's a win for me.
To win.
For me, that's what it is.
Yeah, and for me, like for me not to bottom out, like I know I can run to this program. I can run to what I'm learning. I can use the tools and everything like that to prevent me from bottoming out again.
Yeah,
That's the point. That's the point.
that's
And
the
you know,
point.
and then and you know, I'm not saying that I don't need the meetings. Of course I love going to the meetings. Yeah. And I love doing being the fellowship is one thing. It's amazing and everything like that.
And doing
But when
service,
I
yeah.
but when I'm not with you guys or I'm not in a meeting, I have what I'm learning here and all the tools that are given to me for free, by the way. Like that's
Right.
that's what that's what's giving me the hope and the freaking courage and strength not to bottom out again.
Yeah.
That's
And
that's that's it.
and before, well, I still feel it sometimes. I mean, I have to admit that, I'm the
Hey.
type of person when something bad happens, I feel like the sky is falling.
Yeah.
And of course, when you feel like that the sky is falling, that's when you're gonna drink, right?
Mm,
Because you feel like that's it, that's the end. It's the end. But yeah, the program has really taught me that, it's not. You just have to sit through it, you pray through it,
mm.
you face it, and
And you have the help.
yeah, you have the support
You have
of your
that's it. That's what
yeah,
it's
you have
there
the
for.
support.
It's
Yeah.
You're not
there.
alone. You're not
You're
alone.
not alone. You're not alone. Therefore, I mean, sure. Sure. I mean, like, yes, sometimes like I would feel like as if, it's another bottom or something like that. Like everything's just so freaking drab and hopeless and whatever like that. But then like, there's always that little glimmer of like light right there.
Yeah.
Right.
You
And then
know
you're
that
just
there will be another day.
Yeah.
yeah, and you're
That
right.
you can start over. You can
It's
tomorrow is
there.
another day, and
It's
things
right there.
change all the time. I think I
Exactly.
was just talking about that with Mike because something happened recently and I thought that was it.
That
But
was it.
things
It's
the
always,
one
yeah.
that was it, but then things change all the time and you just have to roll with it. You have to roll with the changes. Nothing is permanent in this life, right? The only
True.
constant thing in life is change, whether it's good or bad.
Mm. I love that.
right?
Yeah.
That's and that's the
Exactly.
magic of it. I feel like we've been circling around that, like that last paragraph of how it works, right? And you do hear people say it a lot, like when they're talking about their shortcomings or like, you know, some funny note about how they fucked up the day. It's always, well, it's progress, not perfection, or
Yeah.
we are not saints, right? You hear that so many times. You know what I don't hear a lot is maybe the most important part of it, where it says, the point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines.
There you go.
There
matter-
you go.
You know, like I may
Yeah.
not be perfect today, but
Mm.
rather than like, did I get the point? Am I
Ah.
continuing? Am I willing to continue to grow along spiritual lines? Because that's where the progress is. That's where the real
Exactly.
progress is.
That's the
Mhm.
magic. There you go. And it doesn't even have to be like, for me at this point in my life, it's like I just have to get the point today.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't have to get the point tomorrow yet. I just have to
Yeah.
get the point today.
And whatever it is, it will pass. You know, when they say this too shall pass.
Right.
And it does. You just have to sit through it. Sit through the
with it.
uncomfortable feeling.
Oh.
We don't like it, but it does make us stronger. And things do change. They really do. Just in a blink of an eye. In a blink of an eye. So,
It's-
like they say, what was that saying?
Oh,
Don't,
don't leave before the miracle happens.
Yeah,
one?
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, it
Yeah.
could happen at any time.
no. We're all miracles here. I think
Oh,
the
yeah.
miracles, they just keep happening. So yeah, I'm staying even though it's already happened. So
So cheers to that,
Cheers, guys.
guys.
Cheers to that.
we love you. I love you both.
Bottoms
Love
up.
you
No.
both. Yeah, bottoms up. I like that.
Bottoms
Bottoms up.
up.
Okay.
Woohoo!
Woo, bye, guys. Love you.
Bye.
Love you both.
This has been an episode of the Cocoa Recovery Podcast. If you would like to get in touch with our hosts or guests, please email us at cocoarecoverypodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.